my title is A Tale of Two Rivers, and I will get back to that. I started when I was describing a little bit, or inviting people to attend this morning, and describing a bit about what I would talk about. I started it with these statements. I said, with all of the trouble in the world, can I really experience a life of ease, peace, and harmony? If so, how? And I said, if you've ever asked these questions or are interested in a life of peace, joy, and harmony, that you wouldn't want to miss this morning's service. So I see you're here. Thank you. I want to ask, though, I want to spend a moment with this idea, though, because we have collectively been through a very tragic experience this week in Orlando. And in light of that, we have to ask ourselves, first of all, can I, in the face of these difficulties, these types of things happening in the world, really live a harmonious, peaceful, joyful existence? And then the question will come up, should I? Should I even attempt that? And I think those are valid questions, and I want to spend a minute with those, because the first question, can I certainly would affirm a yes answer to that and say, yes, I believe that we can live joyful, harmonious, peaceful lives in the midst of difficult experiences, even if there are difficult experiences, our own, and those around us. Secondly, should we? Now, some might say, well, it wouldn't be right. If other people are in pain, how can I be joyful and happy and experience peace and harmony when others aren't? And it might instill guilt. And I would say to that, do we help anyone by being miserable? Do we help anyone by living at the level of that experience? Number one. And number two, does it help the world for us to be miserable or unhappy or still in pain? And yes, compassionate, yes, loving, yes, we all ache for that, but to stay in a place of depression, does that really help anyone? And does that help the world become a better place? I think not. I think indeed that when we respond at the level of any problem, we are merely keeping it in place, and we are feeding that which we want to stop. I think rather to choose a place of love and peace in the midst of turmoil and conflict is the higher road, and a road which helps everyone and lift everyone around us. So, having answered those questions, I want to remind us of something Wayne Dyer said. He said, loving people live in a loving world. Hostile people live in a hostile world. Same world, how come? The variable must not be in the world. The variable must be within us. So we have some influence over that. And the first question I would ask you this morning is, where do we focus our attention? What kind of thoughts do we entertain? What do we spend our energy focusing upon and investing our emotions in? What do we spend most of the time thinking about and talking about? Listen to your conversations. Be careful of what you say, and be careful of where you focus your attention, lest we feed that which we do not want to see in the world. It isn't the idle comment, it isn't the idle thought, it is the preponderance of thinking and the preponderance of feeling that we have that makes the quality of our lives and the contagion thing that spreads throughout the world. There's a Chinese parable about a horse that was tied up outside a shop in a little narrow, small Chinese village street. And when anyone would try to walk by, the horse would kick the person. And it was a narrow street. Before long, a small crowd gathered of villagers, and they gathered near the shop, and they were arguing about how best to get past this dangerous horse. And suddenly someone came running. "The old master is coming," he shouted. "He'll know what to do." Suddenly, so the crowd watched eagerly as the old master came around the corner. He saw the horse. He turned around and walked down another street. Good advice. Wouldn't we do well to do exactly that? We look at it and we look at others who might be choosing a different path of thinking and being, but we don't have to do that. We can choose the higher road and we can go down a different street. My whole talk is a tale of two rivers. There are great lessons to be learned from water, and I'm going to share a few with you today. And these days I find that almost everything speaks to me. Everything has a lesson, everything has a truth, and I take water, for example, this morning. It's going to teach us a few things. First thing I have to tell you is that my title is incorrect. This is not a tale of two rivers. I misspoke. It was a blonde moment late in the evening. It was a blonde moment. It's a tale of two seas.
We can change that.
Yes, we can change a lot of things. That's the whole point of this talk. Thank you, Rita. So, it should be a tale of two seas because this is the story that we're going to start with to learn a few things from water. There is something strange about the geography of Israel. There are two seas in Israel, the Dead Sea and the Sea of Galilee. The Sea of Galilee is teeming with life. It contains 27 species of fish, some found nowhere else in the world. Its shores are full of birds and lush with vegetation. The Dead Sea, on the other hand, contains no life at all. It's toxic and bitter. Yet they are both fed by the same river, the River Jordan. How could two seas fed by the same river be so different? The answer is this. The Sea of Galilee receives water at one end and gives out water at the other. The Dead Sea receives water but has no outlet. It keeps all within itself. And there's a great lesson in that for us. Because so it is with life. If we only receive but do not give, we do not live. So this morning I invite you to give, love, and live. And a fellow by the name of Eric Butterworth, who was he was a prolific writer, and he was both a religious science and a unity minister in his life. He describes giving as the attitude with which you touch things. Things and people, I think. The attitude with which you touch things. Giving is about an attitude toward life. And I think it's the basic awareness that life is a matter of unfolding from within. Inward to out. Inward to out. We breathe in, we breathe out. We breathe in, we breathe out. Try not breathing out sometime. Eric Butterworth goes on to say, giving is the fulfilling awareness that your business is always the express business, no matter what name the worldly vocation may bear. And what he's talking about there is giving is knowing that life is not something to get, but something to express. We're always expressing. Even when we don't intend to, we're expressing. We're expressing something even if we draw into ourselves and close up. We're expressing, believe me. We have an aura that communicates. So whenever you give and whatever you give, always give from a sense of joy and gratitude. That's my invitation to you this morning. Out of a desire to acknowledge and reaffirm for and within yourself that all the good that is already part of your life. And there's good. We would all do well to start a gratitude journal and realize how much good there is in our world. There's good that we're breathing, that we're able to enjoy this beautiful day, that we're here together in this place, that we can smile and share with each other. We have wonderful people around us. We have, most of us, enough food to eat. We have shelter. We have clothing to wear. And we have some joyful connection in our life. And most of us have some kind of activities that give us joy. Whether we're working out in the world or volunteering somewhere or just gardening in our yard, we have joyful activities for ourselves. Things that express who we are and things that are giving of ourselves to other people in most our lives. Most people do choose. That's the good news here today in the face of tragedy around us, is that most people are good people. Unfortunately, in the news, good news doesn't make news. So we don't hear about those good people who touch each other and give to each other. But most people are good, or we would live in a much different kind of world. Most people are giving and good all around the world. And most people are choosing to express from that sense of connectedness and love. There is a law of reciprocity in the universe. What you give from a consciousness of joy and thanksgiving, you must receive. You don't need to worry about receiving when you're giving. Wayne Dyer used to say, I can't outgive God. I think he and his wife during his life gave, I think they said they were tithing and giving, donating and contributing about 70 to 80% of their income. Now their income was generous, but that's a generous level of giving too. The law is exact. If you give, really working from a giving consciousness, you must receive. There is no question about it. If you give from the consciousness of what's in it for me, you will find constriction and lack and disharmony in your job, your relationships, and in all aspects of life. So it's the joy and that I can give this. I have that attitude when I pay bills as well. I'm grateful that I can pay the bills I can pay. I'm grateful to the electric company or the phone company, or whoever provides my television, that I get that service in return. Grateful in the mortgage that I have this home that was funded by these people and I get to pay them back. Whatever it is, I'm grateful for it. And it's a wonderful thing. We would do well also, I actually have a sweatshirt that says this, but we would do well to practice random acts of kindness and senseless acts of beauty. I like that for a slogan. There's another lesson from water, and it comes from the Asian culture, it comes from the Chinese, and it's called Wu Wei. Wu Wei, the action of water. Wu Wei is harmonious action, but often looks like inaction because it's not what we expect. Instead of the dominating, forceful way of ego, Wu Wei is an action of consciousness in union with the infinite. And Thomas Merton explained that Wu Wei is action in harmony with the hidden power that drives the planet and the cosmos. The three attributes of Wu Wei are harmonious action. We see ourselves as part of the larger whole. We cooperate with the rhythms of life. B, a non-violent attitude. Nothing on earth is more gentle and yielding than water, yet nothing is stronger. When it confronts a wall of stone, gentleness overcomes hardness, and the power of water prevails. We must be like the water, flowing naturally, conforming to our environment, and yet possessing tremendous strength. Consider the Grand Canyon, which is it is one of the few natural occurring events that is visible from space. I know that I had never seen it on the ground. Now I have, but I was flying, and I was taking a trip, and I was flying, and every little deep, little dent in the ground, I said, "Is that the Grand Canyon?" And people are laughing at me going, no, you'll know it when you see it. Because I'm looking out the window of the plane. Because they said they made an announcement we would fly over the Grand Canyon, so I'm going, I want to see this thing. Finally, we get to the Grand Canyon. You know it's the Grand Canyon. It is a deep, deep, deep gorge forged by this little tiny river over centuries. Wu Wei, the action of water, able to erode, able to grind down stones, smooth them over, all of that, just the action of water, not resisting anything, yet persistently going its path, in cooperation with what's around it, and yet overcoming, eroding, gently, gently, gently. The third, that's the C. The third thing is attention to process. Attention to process, which means living in the moment. That's what that means. Water doesn't plan ahead. It just goes its path. It's in its present state, and it gets there. Okay. Guided by a vision of the whole, we no longer act for ourselves, or only for ourselves, because we see beyond the illusion of separation. That's attention to process. Attention to process allows us to follow our intuition. Intuition is that inner thing that when it communicates with us, we know that it says, this doesn't feel right. This doesn't feel good. And we know that there's something amiss, whether it's about someone or something. When we trust the process, we can practice the wisdom of right and perfect timing. And we can be freer to experience and freer to take risks. We must avoid pride and rigidity, adjust to life changes, and harmonize in our individual patterns of growth. And in the Tao, they have this to say. They say, at birth, all people are soft and yielding. At death, they are hard and stiff. All green plants are tender and yielding. At death, they are brittle and dry. When hard and rigid, we consort with death. When soft and flexible, we affirm greater life. And I think that these are lessons that we can take with us. We can take the lesson of giving and being a giving person, giving of ourselves, giving of our love, being kind and generous in all circumstances and loving. And we can also make a practice of non-resistance. That doesn't mean not standing strong on what we believe, but it means not resisting anything, not fighting against, rather focusing toward, being for something and not against anything. And I am bound to give how-tos, so today I'm going to give you some how-to tips for how to live joyfully, harmoniously, and at peace. And in my own life, I have learned that I have absolutely no power over anything outside myself. None. Zilch. Nada. And yet, in consciously choosing how I react to life on the inside of me, I have absolute power over my experience. And I do. And that is the key. We are all much more powerful than we know because we have charge of ourselves and where we want to put our attention and our activity in love, in peace, in ease, or in resistance and hate and conflict. We have all of that control. And let me tell you, I firmly believe that we raise the world because we are all connected. And as more and more people focus on love, we do change the world. One person at a time. Not only can we choose, but we must choose because not choosing is still choosing. Even no choice is a choice. So here are some things we can do. They're going to come fast and furious, so There'll be a test later. Be open to new ideas. That's that new and flexible thing. That's that youthful thing. Be open to new ideas. Sometimes that's a little difficult, especially if we're of a certain age, as I am, to be open to something new. But we can be. And new stuff is great. New ideas are wonderful. Dare to try new things. That's some of that same newness. Break out of that rut, out of your comfort zone. Allow yourself to grow and expand. Experiment. Live. Dance. Take it one day at a time. That's great advice. Live in the moment. Live now. I don't know what I said, but thank you, God. The heavens speak. Praise more and criticize less. How about that? Others and yourself. And love more. Love everything. Love yourself, others, God, and the world. Look for what is good and you will find it. And lighten up. Chill. Take yourself more lightly. You can still take what you do seriously, but nothing is critical. Nothing is that critical. It really isn't. Few things are critical. You know, John and I like to practice a view of when something difficult happens, taking what the Native Americans used to call the long view, and saying, on the scale of 1 to 10, where would it fall in the realm of my entire life? Okay. And it's interesting, because even what seems like a 4 or 5 in the moment, few things get above that. Most things would barely be on the scale in the realm of my life. And are not going to be remembered in a few years, which means they're not even on the scale. So it's really interesting to sort of take that view and go, in the realm of my whole life, how much does this matter in the moment? And I can deal with it, but it's really something I just am dealing with, and it's not hypercritical or any of that. The other thing is live more simply. That doesn't mean giving up the things we care about, but it means realizing that life's not about things. Things are wonderful, but it's not about things. It's about one's approach to life. That's what life is. That's what's most important in life. And look for solutions, expect the best, and be flexible. Also not always easy, but flexibility, and remember that's that youthful thing, to be flexible. Live in the moment, because you don't need to carry the burdens of the entire world, and you can't anyway. And there's so much that's out of our control. We have custody of us. We have custody of our emotions, our thoughts, our beliefs, our actions and behavior, and what we put out in the world. That's where we have control. And that's a massive amount of control, and has a grand, far extending influence. The last thing is to make your life, spirituality a priority. Make your spiritual life a priority. Chuang Tzu, the great Taoist teacher, said, "Men do not mirror themselves in running water. They mirror themselves in still water." That's an encouragement for us to meditate, to take time to be quiet. You can pick up books on meditation, and you can study 18 million different kinds of meditation, but just simple contemplation of a tree, a butterfly, a bird in the sky, you're breathing in and out. Whatever it is, just simple contemplation is a form of meditation. And just taking some time to be quiet and listen and calm your thoughts and your the hustle of your life is worthwhile. It's a worthwhile activity. Ernest Holmes said this, and Ernest Holmes was the founder of the Centers for Spiritual Living or Religious Science. He said, "A greater inspiration, a fuller communion with the infinite, and a more complete experience of the living spirit are all available to us. but they are only available to us today. There is no mañana in mind or life. So it's today. What do we do with today? We would do well to get up every morning and say, what about today? So not only can we choose, but we must choose. After all, not choosing is still a choice. We can eliminate struggle from our lives by focusing on love, by focusing on peace, by acting in a peaceful way, and by not resisting what is. One of our ministers in the Centers for Spiritual Living, a Reverend Colleen McKilchrist, in a book she wrote called Think Again, she wrote it this way. She said, we are always just one thought away from peace, clarity, happiness, and right action. When you find yourself angry, confused, fighting in an unfriendly universe, you can remind yourself that you are the thinker. Many times just acknowledging yourself as the thinker of thoughts instead of the thought will release you from the grip of negativity. Once released, your mind is free to experience a new thought, a better thought. And we can step into the flow of life by getting in tune with the deepest parts of ourself, by cultivating an approach to life as a practice in Wu Wei, giving, not resisting, standing in our truth, the action of water. We can practice joyful giving as well as joyful receiving. And Ernest Holmes went on he wrote a volume called Living the Science Mind, which is a daily meditations kind of book. And in it he wrote this. He said, can we learn to surrender our doubts and fears, our uncertainties and forebodings, and live our lives with enthusiasm, expectancy, and confidence? I venture to say that could we learn to do this, our inner conflicts would dissipate themselves. Our prophetic feelings of evil would vanish, and we would be at peace with God, with ourselves, and with others. So I think, and this is my invitation to you today, that we can do this. We can do this. So let us live from the inside out. Let us celebrate the best in ourselves and others. Let us look for the good around us and find it. Let us let go of negative patterns of thought. Let us invest ourselves in new positive thoughts and ideas. Let us choose peace, harmony, and love always. And let us start now. And I want to leave you with this thought. And although it was authored by A. Bentley, I offer this from my heart to yours. I want you to live a life so full that you are bursting with joy, and you are bursting at the seams with joy. So overjoyed that you are lit up, spreading endless love to everyone you meet. And so it is. Thank you.